In this example, we're going to learn to write fractions in decimal form. So decimal form is a special notation that we use that's used on place value to write decimals, which are fractions, with denominators that are powers of 10. So you'll see in your packet you have a table that shows that we have the ones place, then we write a decimal point. The place to the right represents 1/10. And the place to the right of that represents 1/100. So these are our tenths and our hundredths place. So we're going to start by shading the indicated quantities, and we're going to look at a bunch of different forms that we can be given, and then we're going to use the place value table to write them as decimals. So first we have 57 hundredths, and you can choose on your own. I'm going to use the yellow highlighter and just do 57. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full columns. And then we need 7 more. I'm going to start from the bottom. 4, 5, 6, 7. So this represents 57 hundredths, or 57 out of 100. So let's move over to the place value table. So our ones place is 0. We didn't have any other holes here. Now, what will we put in the tenths column? Well, we wrote 57 hundredths, but remember the 50 is equivalent to 5 orange strips, which would be 5 tenths. So we can put a 5 in the tenths place, and then we have 7 out of 100. So we could put a 7 in the hundredths place. So notice 57 hundredths is 5 tenths and 7 hundredths. But our word name for it uses just hundredths. And again, that's so we don't have to break it into two pieces. And we can see that 5 in the tenths place is equal to 50 in the hundredths place, but we don't put digits greater than 9. So you can read this number by reading the number from the decimal 57, and then use whatever the place value is of the rightmost digit, so 57 hundredths. Okay, so as a decimal, it's 0.57. Now in expanded form, we want to write this as the sum of all of the products of the pieces. So just like we wrote, say, 123 is 1 times 100 plus 2 times 10 plus 3 times 1. So we would take the digit and multiply it by the place value and sum the results. 1 100, 2 tens, 3 ones. We're going to do the same thing here, but our place values are going to be fractions. So the expanded form is 5 times 1/10 plus 7 times 1/100th. Okay, and that represents this in expanded form. And in fraction form, again, we'll think of this as 57 hundredths and use the rightmost place value as our denominator. So 57 over 100. Let's look at the next one, and it is 7 over 100. So that won't be a complete column. There would be no full orange strips. There would just be 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's equivalent to 7 hundredths, where this is the unit of 1. Notice it's relatively small. Now let's use our place value table to write it as a decimal. We have 0 ones. We don't have any tenths because we didn't have one complete column anywhere. We couldn't have written this with an orange strip. So we're going to put a 0. And then in the hundredths place, we have 7 hundredths. Okay. So notice this 0, if we drop this 0, it wouldn't really matter. We could write 0.07 and that wouldn't make a difference. This 0, however, is a place value holder. Just like if we had 103, we couldn't drop the 0 and just write 13. these are two very different numbers. In the same way, this 0 is telling us that we don't have any tenths, but we do have hundredths. So as a decimal, we have 0.07. In expanded form, I'm going to use the tenths place and show that we have 0 tenths plus 7 hundredths. So the 7 is in the hundredths, the 0 is in the tenths. And our word name, 7 out of 100, will be 7, read the rightmost place value, so 7 hundredths. Okay. We have two more to look at. I hope you're starting to make connections between all these different representations. Here we have 6 tenths and 3 hundredths. So for the tenths, I'm going to use the orange strips. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going to start that out and shade all the way down. And again, you should try these on your own first, and then check back with the video to make sure you got your answers right, or to check or answer any questions. So there's our 6 tenths, and we want to add on 3 hundredths. So I'm going to use the yellow highlighter, and I'm going to start from the bottom. Okay, now let's use our place value chart. So if we have 6 tenths and 3 hundredths in the place value chart, that means we would have, here's our decimal, a 6 in the tenths place and a 3 in the hundredths place. And we have 0 ones. And notice we've been writing this 0 a lot. It's not necessary, but it helps you see the decimal point. So sometimes if you don't write the decimal or the 0, the decimal isn't as obvious. So as a decimal, this would be written as 0.63. In expanded form, we'll write the digit times its place value. So 6 times 1 over 10 plus 3 times 1 over 100. And finally, in fraction form, we're going to write 63 over this place value. So again, we can think of the orange strips as the tenths, but so we could have a common denominator, we need to see this is equivalent to 63 over 100, 63 hundredths. So we could use 63 yellow squares. And finally, our last one, 3 tenths plus 8 over 100. So 3 tenths would be 3 orange strips. And then 8 hundredths would be 8 yellow squares. I'm going to start from the bottom. Notice I'm just leaving 2 on top instead of counting 8. Sometimes that's easier. So this is our shaded area that represents 3 tenths plus 8 hundredths, where this is the unit. Now let's go to our place value chart. So we have 0 ones. 3 tenths would be 3 in the tenths place, and 8 hundredths would be 8 in the hundredths place. So as a decimal, this is 0.38. In expanded form, we would multiply 3 times 1 tenth, and then add 8 times 1 hundredth. And notice this was pretty close to expanded form. It just didn't write it in terms of the unit fractions like we have here. It just had the 3 over the denominator. But notice this is equivalent to this. And finally, our word name. So we don't want to write 3 tenths plus 8 hundredths. We want to write this with one denominator. So notice we have 38 hundredths, or we could think of this as, if these were all yellow squares, there'd be 38 of them. So 38 hundredths.